This is GWN7 Local News with Noel Brunning and Shauna Willis. It's now 5:30 and we're live across Western Australia.
After almost 2 years, Griffin coal workers return to the mine. House prices rally, how your region performed. The fledgling footy players finding their wings.
And as our south enjoys the sunshine, our north prepares for a looming storm.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. First tonight, the longest running coal mining dispute in WA's history is over. 29 maintenance workers at Collie's Griffin coal mine are going back to work. The first of them started this morning. The workers and the union are calling it a win, but none of their 40% pay cuts have been restored.
A 6-month strike, the longest coal dispute in WA's history. For 180 days, these Collie mine workers sat outside the gates of Griffin Coal, taking a stand against the scrapping of their maintenance agreement. But today was a lot different. Instead of striking, they're finally going back to work. The first 6 of the remaining 29 strikers marched through the gates with a guard of honour this morning.
We got our entitlements back, we got our roster back, and the money is acceptable. But we could have done this without 2 years of pain.
The maintenance workers never stopped fighting to get better pay and working conditions. The battle took its toll on families and the town.
The spend that comes into Collie, small businesses have felt the pinch as well, but as a community, we've stuck together.
Our lives have been on hold since the EBA was cancelled June 2016, so now we can start planning for a future.
Griffin had lost almost $300 million in 5 years and needed to make savings. So 2 years ago, 70 maintenance workers were told their pay would be cut by 43%, and the family-friendly roster changed. Many simply left because they couldn't afford to fight.
I've been to Fair Work 71 times, this dispute.
Despite 2 years of fighting and 6 months of protests, the fight isn't over. Workers say nothing has been signed. They're heading back to work because there's an agreement in principle, and with $50,000 a year less in their pay packet. As part of the agreement, a community Facebook page was forced to shut down.
These workers and their families have stood together in the face of some pretty major adversity imposed on them by an employer who really doesn't care about them.
The psychological pressure of not knowing or thinking that you might have to leave your town or go and work somewhere else and leave your family, it is a relief to be able to work back in your own town.
Kate Ryan, GWN7 News.
Country house prices are on the rise across WA, with the regions outperforming the Perth market. And good news, analysts say the prices are going to keep on rising. New liquor reforms will see more restaurants serving alcohol without customers having to buy food. Under the new laws, licensed businesses with a capacity of less than 120 people won't have to apply for a separate permit to serve alcohol alone. And if you order a bottle of wine and don't get to finish it, you can now take it home with you.
Leave a restaurant. It's just an annoying thing for people when they go out. They're not allowed to actually take a bottle of wine home with them that might not be fully consumed. So that's a little bit of red tape we're getting rid of today.
Liquor licensing applications will now also include input from Tourism WA. The new laws will come before Parliament next week. The Denmark community has rallied around a local mum who's suffering from a rare form of muscular dystrophy. 40-year-old Anwen Hadmer's muscles are deteriorating and she'll soon need a wheelchair. So she set up an online fundraising page last month, hoping it would help her to buy a $23,000 all-terrain wheelchair, so that she wouldn't miss out on exploring the outdoors with her active 8-year-old daughter Alba. And now it's on its way. The community donated over $15,000 and Anwen's family donated another $7,000. Lovers have celebrated Valentine's Day all over WA today. It's the biggest day of the year for our florists who sell thousands of red roses. And of course, there's always something for the singles out there. No roses on the weather desk today. Thankfully, there's a bit of weather to talk about. Shauna?
Yes, thanks for pointing that out, Noel. And it certainly is a forecast of extremes. As for our weather today, we had a high developing through here. That's just along the south coast. So pretty much clear skies and warm temperatures. Again, for much of the south, it sweltered through the Pilbara. Seasonal rain for the north and back to just a couple of showers today. We got to 32 in Kununurra. We had a dry 38 for Fitzroy Crossing, 39 at Port Hedland. That was at midday. But a 42 was WA's highest maximum. That was recorded at Exmouth and also at Roban. Carnarvon reached 31, 32 this morning for Geraldton. Very hot inland, 40 at Meekatharra, and look, generally low 30s for much of the goldfields today, although 32 was recorded there at Kalgoorlie Boulder. After an overnight low of 13, it reached 27 in Bunbury just past midday. Albany, 25. Our coldest place this morning was Jarrawood with just 9 degrees. We got to 34 in Southern Cross and 23 the top for Esperance. So look, again, the summer skies have kept rain away from southern districts. Just a couple of drizzle patches to the south coast, but we've had a handful of good showers till 9 this morning out of the Kimberley. We had these 50 millimetres at Kununurra, at Checkpoint, 23 at Mount Elizabeth there. Our north is being warned there are some big downpours on the way, along with damaging winds as a possible cyclone looms. The forecast for your place is coming up shortly.
Thank you, Shauna. See you soon. The airport with no airplanes. That's coming up next. Plus, Great Southern to Great Britain. The model making a name for herself on Europe's catwalks. Coming up next in sport, athletes descend on the outback for one of the state's toughest competitions. Plus, the Eagles teaching the next generation of footy stars. The West Coast Eagles continue their trip to the southwest today, showing eager kids some of the tricks of the trade. But the Eagles captain admits there's still a lot more that could be done in the regions. And good luck to them all. Shauna's back next with a look at your weather. And then ahead in 7 News, billionaire James Packer interviewed by police. Find out why.
Welcome back, everyone, and our north waiting on what could be the 5th tropical cyclone of the season. Now, the tropical low is expected to track across the Kimberley tomorrow, bringing with it some heavy rain and squally winds. We're looking at rainfall of up to around 400 millimetres possible, a flood watch for the North Kimberley and a cyclone watch from Koori Bay right through to Port Hedland. Look, meanwhile, south is a new trough deepening through here just off that west coast. It is going to be a warm day for southern districts. On Friday, the low is expected to move through here over that open water and may reach then cyclone intensity and will be called Kelvin. Now, from that point, it should move parallel to the coast, still dropping very heavy rainfall and wind gusts around 100 kilometres an hour. Saturday, the low still tracking along that Kimberley coastline, so wet and quite windy north. Western districts, though, further south should be mostly dry, but on and east of this inland trough through here, we are looking at some isolated thundery showers. Sunday, we should see clearing weather for the far south, but as you can see, it is all rain and wind north, and possibly the cyclone could be crossing around the eastern Pilbara coast late evening as a Category 3 or even above. So we pretty much wait and see what happens there. North tomorrow, thunderstorms and heavy falls for the Kimberley. We're looking at 34 in Derby and pretty much the same there for Broome. Hot and unsettled for the Pilbara. 40 degrees should reach in Exmouth there. Fresh winds, 34 for Carnarvon. Warm for the inland Gascoyne, and that is the forecast right through the central west as well. Geraldton looking at 32. It's warming up south, 34 in Bunbury, Manjimup 32, 24 for Albany. It's going to be hot and windy as well for the wheat belt. It is 40 in Merredin there tomorrow. Sunny with light winds freshening to the southeast, Esperance 25, and hot if you live in the goldfields. Kalgoorlie tomorrow 37 degrees. Northern waters, and as expected, strong wind warnings have been issued through here for the Kimberley coastline. Look, no warnings for western waters, but conditions will be fresh up to around 25 knots in parts. Strengths to around 20 knots are expected off the Albany and also that Esperance coastline. Now it is a cloudy 24 in Melbourne tomorrow, 25 degrees here for Adelaide, and a scorcher there for Perth, 37, and that's your weather.
Thank you, Shauna, and that's your GWN7 News to now. I'll have updates for you throughout the night. Remember, for news anytime, head to our website and get in touch with us on our Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you. 7 News from Perth is next from our team. Good night, Western Australia.